A very good day to you all and good afternoon. Welcome to everyone who has managed to join us for the launch of the African Fourth Industrial Revolution Standardization Strategy, what we are calling A4IRSS. Welcome to everyone, and of course, a special welcome to our chief guest, His Excellency Albert M. Muchanga, Commissioner for Economic Development, Trade, Industry at the African Union Commission. I would also like to, of course, welcome our Secretary General. Welcome to you. Welcome to all the distinguished speakers who are going to be speaking today, our panelists. I welcome our partners who are with us today, and of course, our invited guests. Today is a very special day. We are very excited to be hosting this launch today, for which I will give a very brief background to allow us to get into the program of the day. In terms of the background, the African Fourth Industrial Revolution Standardization Strategy, or A4IRSS, seeks to provide direction on standardization for the well-being of Africans in the global economy. The strategy also seeks to bridge the gap between the physical and digital world through collaboration of standardization experts, technology communities, stakeholders, and regulatory agencies in assessing industry standards and policy harmonization that enhances trade within the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, AfCFTA single market. The strategy also sets to position standards as the key driver and enabler of economic activities, enhancing standards development, using standardization to enable competitiveness of goods and services, adaptation of standardization best practices, institutionalization of effective management and coordination of standardization, taking active leadership role and aligning with other national and regional policies in relation to industry, consumers, the environment, and finally, to facilitate coordination and scaling up standardization in Africa, and to provide access to relevant standardization information. Ladies and gentlemen, today, as I said, we do have quite a good program ahead of us, and we are excited because this is going to give us an opportunity to launch our strategy. I will invite, of course, the Secretary General to say a few words. Say something to us, Secretary General. We are excited to be here today.
Thank you, Dr. Gazikwa. Your Excellency, Commissioner of Economics, Trade, Industry and Mining, Albert Muchanga, representative of Smart Africa, representative of IEEE, colleagues from different partners. Today, I think, is as what Dr. Gazikwa was talking about, is a very big day for us. We will be launching this African Fourth Industrial Revolution Standardization Strategy. When you look at what is the Fourth Industrial Revolution, looking at augmented reality, mainly in virtual reality, autonomous, robotic, drones, big data that will have blockchains, cyber security, Internet of Things. We have an opportunity to do well as the African continent. I would just, in my few remarks, ask ourselves a question. We have some times now to discuss with those participants and with our key speakers. Let's ask ourselves what will be done to produce an immediate effect when this a standardization strategy on fourth industrial revolution is launched. What action need to be taken to change the policy and the regulatory environment? That is also key. If you recall, even using the mobile money transfer, when it started, people were fearing because we are used to have the money as papers. When I have it in my wallet, I feel safe, not on the phone, not in the virtual way. What capacity is very key? What capacity is needed that we can build a strong partnership to build the capacity on our continent? Then how do we even provide access to information on the standards that we'll be producing? How do we provide such information to the really stakeholders? And lastly, what networks or relationship that we can have to be able to communicate in the 55 countries and actually influence also the whole world? Those are the questions, Dr. Eve Gazikwa, in this short remark, I want us to be discussing and start feeling what we should do next. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretary General, for those remarks. And you've set the tone for our launch today. But before we invite our guest, our chief guest, to give us a keynote, we do have a very high-powered delegation who have joined this platform today. They'll be helping us to unpack the discussion around the fourth industrial revolution, the Africa fourth industrial revolution, and they will be tackling a number of areas. So we will go straight into it, and I will start by inviting the first panelist who is going to join us. We do have with us today Mr. Vincent Kabunga, who is the chair of Africa Council for IEEE. Welcome to you, and thank you for being with us today. And I just wanted to pose a question to you to say, the executive committee of the African Fourth Industrial Revolution that has been working on this project for standardization and strategy has successfully launched this product today, which was a collaborative effort of a number of stakeholders, including on the continent, including IEEE, a global organization. And I wanted to just say to you, lest we celebrate too early, going beyond today's launch, I am sure we all agree that a strategic execution and creation of awareness of stakeholders are key for its full implementation. Would you like to comment on this, please?
Thank you very much, Dr. Gazikwa, and a big thank you to ASO for organizing this event and to all the partners that have really been a part of walking this journey. It's my honor to be here as part of this esteemed panel. Allow me to start with some brief comments about IEEE. We're a global organization with about 100,000 members from 160 countries. We have over 10,000 members on the continent. It's a professional association advancing technology for the benefit of humanity. We enable our members to network and collaborate locally and pursue strategic engagements on the continent in Africa, especially right now, with institutions focusing on engineering capacity building, especially in the areas of standards development and collaboration. In the area of standards, we develop global standards across all branches of technology, and more we're developing contextual standards that are focused around ethical aspects, data governance, designing well-being, and so on. But today we are really excited to be a part of this gathering, because we are celebrating the launch of the African standardization strategy for the fourth industrial revolution. the work has resulted from a broader collaboration, of course, with ASO and specifically following the ASO IEEE Standard Summit that was held in Kigali in 2018, with institutions from across the continent, and seeing the document launch is really a massive achievement. This was developed under the IEEE Standards Association's Industry Connections activity, and we joined hands with the partners at Smart Africa and the CSIR, and had the participation and input from many other African institutions. In the context of the African Free Trade Area and of the African Union Agenda 2063, we see a lot of things starting to accelerate in the implementation of continental initiatives for growth and development. The fourth industrial revolution and the enabling technologies are critical in terms of facilitating the visions for sustainability. And with the digitization of emerging technologies, we see cyber-physical systems having the potential to promote our prosperity as Africans. And of course, African innovation is going to have to be a real part of solving real-life problems and enhancing 4IR. So there's lots of activities, standards, and frameworks happening in this space. But the goal of this strategy, as we see it, is for the fourth industrial revolution to provide a common understanding that can help distill the different resources, guidelines, and standards that will help us identify and address the gaps that we need to look at in this space. It's also going to do so in a cross-sectoral and multidisciplinary manner, so that the governments at the local, national, and regional level are able to help in the implementation and to manage 4IR in ways that support the outcomes that we're looking at. We hope that the challenges that have been identified and the pilots that we've been discussing with our partners are going to be moving forward. And by piloting the existing tools, the existing tools will be captured. We want to see some resources coming forward and gaps being more clearly identified. I'd like to maybe in closing say that we appreciate the critical role, and we want to see the technologies developed are also accessible and understandable to all the stakeholders across the continent, and we are really excited to be a part of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vincent. We are equally excited that you are on board, and we look forward to working with you. And clearly you are highlighting the importance of engaging all stakeholders in terms of executing the post-launch of this strategy, which is quite key. But beyond the launch, and just to say that also we do really appreciate the critical role played by IEEE SA in this project. I think you did play a very critical role, and it is much appreciated. How do you see the two organizations, ASO and IEEE Standards Association, plan to collaborate together in the future post the launch, of course? I think you're muted. I think you're muted. Vincent?
Yes, so sorry about that. Thank you so much. Well, the IEEE, and more specifically within IEEE, we have the IEEE Standards Association. We've been honored to work with organizations that are shaping the continent's future, and look forward to continued collaboration. And we are looking to collaborate in developing future standards to enable this strategy come to
sorry, apologies. There's somebody who's can you please mute? Can everyone please mute except for the speaker?
Thank you very much, Dr. Ari. So
okay.
We're hoping that we'll continue to collaborate in developing future standards to enable this strategy come to fruition, and also We also have open to the option of adopting IEEE standards where that is relevant to ASO and your stakeholders. Of course, in addition to the specific activities that we've mentioned related to the pilots, we hope to have a continued cooperation with ASO to help bring information and updates on key activities within and to the community. For example, collaborating on capacity building through webinars and others. So we hope there'll be more opportunities for us to continue working on these joint activities in the not too distant future, because these are largely in-person, work-based as in-person activities. I'll pause there for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vincent. I think I'll leave it at that for now. And hopefully, if there are any questions, if you can take note of them, hopefully we'll have enough time at the end of this discussion to deal with those. I'll now move to the next panelist. Today, we also do have with us Dr. Ntivane Ntlahlapa. He's actually at the Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, South Africa, representing CSIR. Dr. Ntivane, the Fourth Industrial Revolution provides organizations with opportunities for optimizing and enhancing internal operations, but also to innovate and optimize business models. How do you envisage the role of this Fourth Industrial Revolution standardization strategy will shape the future of standardization in Africa?
Thanks, Yvonne, and thanks to the SG for including us in this prestigious occasion. I think it's been a lot of hard work getting up to here. So I'll just before I just answer the question, let me just briefly highlight what this C4IR is in just 1 minute. The Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution South Africa is set up specifically to create a multi-stakeholder hub that actually build the capacity in technology governance, which is aimed at removing all the barriers for adoption. So if you look at the fact that we are looking at the barriers for the adoption and those barriers, you could see them in many different ways. They appear within the companies themselves, and this is more closer to your question, where there may be barriers for them to be able to adopt the digital technologies and be players in the Fourth Industrial Revolution. But it also highlights the role of government, because without the proper environment for those standards to work, and I can give a lot of examples around there where you may have good standards and the industry has adopted the particular standards, but if there is no proper regulatory environment in the country, that becomes useless as a standard. But also to keep an eye on development, and I'm glad that we have IEEE here, which is a professional body that includes the people that will be looking ahead in terms of what are the new technologies so that we can be able to react much faster. As we know that the technological revolution won't just happen in 1 year. It goes over for a very long period. So as we know, the technology will always be evolving. So the standardization that we are looking at here, and I want to just highlight one of the first principle that is there around the data. And just also highlight the fact that we have African free, continental free trade area. And for us to be able to trade effectively across the single market, we must be able to have a framework for which we can be able to share the data. And this data enables us to draw the insights, not only for logistics purposes, even throw in the environmental data that could affect our mining operations, that could affect our, our agriculture production. But without us as a continent having adopted a common framework, you may find blockages here and there. Just before this call, I was talking to one industry player who was saying it's easy for them to actually get data internationally and collaborate with people in Switzerland than to collaborate with anybody on the African continent and share data on the African continent. And I see this standardization strategy helping us to actually, when we implement it, to overcome those obstacles and be able to share data amongst ourselves, and then we can be able to advance in that particular sense. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. No, thank you, Dr. Ntivani. I think what you're highlighting is that data is critical in all of this, and I'm sure from the Center of Scientific and Industrial Research, data is critical in the day-to-day work that you're doing, which is going to complement our standardization efforts going forward. So thank you for clarifying that issue. And maybe the second part of the question was, of course, the specific role of CSIR in terms of the 4IR. What are you going to bring to the table, as it were?
Yes. So as a CSIR as a whole, so the C4IR is hosted by the bigger entity as a CSIR, and the CSIR basically deals with the research in all manner of scientific, discovery, knowledge, as well as looking at industrial application of, those scientific discoveries. Now, whether we will be talking about, the future of energy, we have researchers that are looking at that. If we are looking at the technologies, all the technologies that have been mentioned at the beginning by the SG, those are technologies we have, teams that are working on those particular technologies. Now, we'll be really looking forward to participating and working with other researchers across the continent on enhancing those particular technologies to make sure that they can work. And most importantly, to make sure that there's a proper commercialization and we have enterprises that will be able to use those technologies. So we are really fast tracking our process of commercialization to make sure that we don't develop technology and it stays in the shelves for the next 10 years. So we are looking at making sure that we can fast track that. And we'll be looking forward to working with everyone on the continent, and maybe under the auspices of the standard, we can then be able to make sure that the technologies can then be interoperable across the different geographies in the continent.
Thank you, Dr. Ntivani. I think I'll leave it at that. You're highlighting a lot of important issues, research, data, the need to commercialize what we are doing as well. I'll move on to the next panelist. We do have today the pleasure of having Mr. Didier Nkuriki Yim Fura. I hope I said that correctly. You're welcome today, and thank you so much for joining us, Didier. Also really appreciates the role that Smart Africa has played in this project and for accepting to take up the position of Vice Chair of Africa 4th Industrial Revolution. You're welcome to this platform. I'm asking you a question today, and that is, within the context of the immense trade and manufacturing and industrialization opportunities offered by the 4th Industrial Revolution, what advice can you offer to the broader standards community on the continent in relation to the Africa 4th Industrial Revolution standardization strategy launch?
Thank you very much, Dr. Gazigwa, for this question, and very humbled to be also part of this team with you under your leadership for the development of this strategy. The fourth industrial revolution is already at our doors, whether we like it or not. From the first to the third, we're not able to fully take advantage of each of these previous revolutions. So it is crucial for us to learn from our past mistakes. The main reason why we were not able to leverage each innovation from the previous era was due to the lack of adaptation. During the first industrial revolution, the age of mechanical production, steam-based technologies couldn't be adapted for the demand of the population. And during the second industrial revolution, the age of science and mass production, electricity became a new commodity. But for Africa, the faulty distribution infrastructure are still an issue in some parts of the continent. And for the third industrial revolution, the age of the digital technologies, technology couldn't really be adapted to the need of the continent. By saying that, of course, we acknowledge that there's been, of course, some important effort which were made, but really here we talk about taking full advantage of this previous industrial revolution where there were some gaps. Indeed, we couldn't really take advantage of the previous IR because we're only trying to replicate and not to adapt. Sometimes not really putting in the local context. And we're only adopting technology that were meant to address challenges from different parts of the world. So to have the fourth industrial revolution benefit us, benefit our economy, to leverage the future technologies, we need to learn the lessons from the past and from others also, and also adapt it to the need of the continent rather than adopt it. For example, I'll give an example, or a couple of examples. Banks today works well in other regions of the world in Africa. Service could be found to be lacking for banks in many parts. And to remediate to that, Africa made use of mobile money and adapted to a challenge with their own solution. Now, my grandmother in the village is able to transact using mobile money, yet she doesn't have a bank account. And Africa is now leading in terms of mobile money. Another example is blockchain, which is mainly seen as a means to use for cryptocurrencies for the rest of the world. However, in Africa, it has the potential to address challenges such as supply chain, interoperability of services, land and certificate claim, which is a huge issue in most of our countries, right? So this is how we should also look at the fourth industrial revolution. We should find a way to address our own challenges with what technologies has to offer. The standard community, to respond to your question, the standard community must establish norms that are not too specific, but which are broad enough to let African community innovate, adapt technologies to the local standards. For a continent which is diverse, we talk about over 50 countries with local realities. I think this is a must. If it's too specific, we'll only limit ourselves to very specific use cases. For example, the last COP26 has created standards that will restrict the opportunity for Africa to have a rapid development of its economy, and the rest of the world has had the time to enjoy the benefit, grow significantly without care. So in conclusion, to summarize, we need to adapt. We need to adapt rather than adopt. We need to have local context. As much as we have a broad and diverse continent, we need really to always take into account the local needs. And the standard community has an opportunity here to guide the frame in which we could innovate and grow without being too restrictive.
Thank you so much, Didier. So basically you're saying adapt rather than adopt. And you're also saying we need to customize and be flexible, not to be too prescriptive in the approach that we're going to be taking in terms of leveraging our fintech, health techs, all sorts of techs that we're going to be working on. I think that those are interesting insights. Maybe the second part was relative to the rest of the world. Are you happy with the pace of technology innovation? How can we accelerate innovation, leveraging standards?
Thank you. That's an interesting question, Dr. Eve. So in contrast to the leading nations or simply the rest of the world, African countries have been in general rather slow regarding technology innovation. And even though we have some pioneers that have already been dabbling in technology innovation, the pace is still coming up. And more recently, however, we've seen African countries being identified potential opportunities offered in the fourth industrial revolution, and they've started to see how best to harness them for Africa. Indeed, technology innovation will be used to address several pressing issues, whether it's from government, private sector, society, such as improving public service delivery, increasing economic growth, addressing a variety of sustainable development targets. So we look at the fourth industrial revolution as an area that requires a lot of investment. It cannot happen just by accident. We need to invest in the people in terms of expertise, training, capacity building. We need to invest in technology because there are specific tools that need to be where knowledge is needed and technology is needed, but also change because it's involved product, it's embracing new way of working, going digital, making innovation operational. So fortunately, African countries will not have to start from scratch. We have already a solid base to start with. The opportunity offered by large and rising skills demand combined with the availability of a potentially youth talent pool, knowing that Africa is one of the most youthful continents. And we have also a strong diaspora outside of Africa. And the opportunity to really develop solution made in Africa for Africa is real. It can really happen today. So we also believe that it can also, being a large market, over 1.2 billion, 1.3 billion, can really attract significant investment. And we've seen over the last few years a growth of investment coming to Africa, but it's not yet enough. So I think we need to, we should not just innovate for the sake of innovation. We need to create really solution that fits our market, but it requires, again, I mentioned capacity building, technology, but also an enabling environment which supports innovation. And I think it starts with policy. When you look at countries really need to have supportive policies for innovation. It can't happen. If you see a lot of markets really embracing innovation, it's because the environment is conducive to bring this innovation to reality. So to summarize on this question, I would say that it's possible. There's been indeed important effort, but I think the potential is still not yet reached. We need to work together with people in this meeting today for the launch, national, regional, continental standard organization, to work together, and plus the broad ecosystem, the ministries in charge, the agencies that implement, and the private sector to make it a reality. And we shall see more and more happen.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Didier. We look forward to continuing working with Smart Africa. I think there's a lot of work for us to do. And it sounds like, as you rightly put it, investments are needed in this area for it to happen. So thank you very much for your insights. And we are now down to Dr. Imogen Nsengamana, the ASO Secretary General. Welcome to this platform. Dr. Nsengamana, contrary to the widely held belief that Africa is not innovative enough compared to the rest of the globe, you know, I just wanted to understand from your perspective, are there some live success stories that you can share with us, clearly demonstrating a business case for the fourth industrial revolution in Africa? I know that the examples perhaps that you can share with some of the participants at today's launch.
Thank you. Maybe just a few key areas that I would like to share with you. One is what Didier touched on financial services. When you look at, if it wasn't on the cybersecurity issues during COVID, we could actually have lost people not by COVID, but by hunger. Yeah. All travel have stopped. Yeah, had stopped at that time. You couldn't send hard cash. Yeah, what happened in many countries, actually, M-Pesa started in Africa. People were sending money through M-Pesa. There was no exchange. We couldn't even touch one another. You remember what was on WhatsApp videos, people fearing to even be closer to you. Payment through mobile money became really key in fighting this COVID, and actually even also try to support one another during this COVID. That is one of the key reasons, and I think Africa is leading in this area. Yeah. The second is on the autonomous robotic. The robots that, if you look at on African continent, robots that are now being used at the airport, yeah, to detect temperature, even to guide you at the airport, where you should go, where you should find the sanitizers and so on. It's on our continent. And while I am still on autonomous robotic, look, the use of drones. The use of drones in the health sector, like delivering the blood, yeah, in rural areas where probably access by road could be very difficult. The robotic systems that are also as a drone used even in the fashion industry. Nowadays, you don't even see somebody with a normal camera. Yeah, you are sending a small drone around and taking photos and so on. Those are the things that down to earth that we should be looking at. When you look at the education now, education system, we can give once again the example of drones going to pick samples where scientists could not go. Yeah, you are sending drones in a marshland where you could not access normally to pick soil samples, to pick water samples, and now you conduct analysis to guide a different policy in different countries. The other part is virtual reality. Virtual reality in designing industry, once again during COVID, you could be able to send that, although you are not able as a partner looking for different service, I could be able to demonstrate a machine to you on the functionality of that machine without you being there. And I can go into that machine, you look at the machine and you appreciate. That is virtual reality. The other part, the last probable example I should give is Internet of Things. Internet of Things that currently you can be sitting in Italy, and if there is a mechanical problem on a truck in Nairobi or in Mombasa, you can just change the settings and without being there as an engineer or a mechanic. Imagine during this COVID period, you have left your car probably not packed well, or your fridge under low temperatures, and you are not able to travel. With just Internet of Things, you can change the temperature of your fridge, and you save probably your bottle of wine, which is in the fridge, or a bottle of beer, which is in the fridge. Those are the simple examples that are around that I should like to give. Thank you, Dr. Eve. You are muted. You are muted. You are muted. If
thank you.
Yeah.
Somebody had was not allowing me to speak. Thank you so much, Dr. Imogen, for those examples. I think those are very excellent examples, demonstrating clearly that no, yes, we might be behind in some areas, but certainly I know in terms of electronic money, the penetration in Africa is excellent. I mean, you know, I know, for instance, in Zimbabwe, we have been using electronic money for a number of years now. I think the penetration is up to almost 90%. So thank you for sharing those wonderful examples. And M-Pesa as well from East Africa, which is another very good example of a success story that we can talk about. I have another question for you, Dr. Imogen. I'll just combine the last two. What standards can we look forward to under the African Continental Free Trade Area, you know, to support the fourth industrial revolution that are being developed by ASO? And also what pilot projects, if any, are in the pipeline, you know, which are going to emanate from this launch?
Thank you, Naive. We have, we will be working on 6 layers. There are 6 layers. The first layer we will be working on is on business layer, concerning the fourth industrial revolution business model. How do we ensure integrity of the fourth industrial revolution functions? It's very important that we look at legal and regulatory conditions, yeah, to ensure integrity. We are already involved in this area, and that is the first layer of standardization that we are touching on. The second layer is the function layer. Yeah, how do we deal with interoperability? Yeah, on different assets that we have in the fourth industrial revolution, how they can talk to one another. That is the formalization of their functionality. The third layer is information layer. We need to provide each entity of these assets should provide information about itself and readable and in a standardized manner. That is the communication between those assets. Then we have the fourth, which is really a communication layer, where you need to have appropriate protocols to communicate this information functionality. The fifth is integration layer. This integration layer is very, very important. What are the challenges that these machines are bringing? What is the ethic that should be a part of the whole system? Do I trust these robots? Do I trust that they are taking the information that I am aware that they are only taking such information, not other information on my privacy and other issues? That is very, very important. And the last layer that we are dealing with is the assets layer, that we will be looking at the physical components of those robots, the physical component of the machine and the pipes and the motors. And currently, the main project that we are looking at is on cybersecurity, in financial services, and the ethics. The ethics, how can we produce the guideline for ethics in this fourth industrial revolution? Thank you, Dr.
Very good. I think, you know, you have made it very, very interesting and clear. You've also highlighted the importance of ethics, which is a critical area, actually, just as much as biases, you know, the type of biases that emanate from the use of some of these innovations. So I would like to appreciate, you know, the leadership that you're providing, Dr. Imogen, in ensuring that we have successfully come to this part of the launch, where we are now going to be inviting our chief guest, who is none other than His Excellency Commissioner Mr. Muchanga, Commissioner of Trade and Industry of the African Union Commission, we are very excited today to be inviting you, sir, to join us as our chief guest. And of course, you will be doing the official launch of this Africa 4th Industrial Revolution Standardization Strategy. So allow me now to invite our chief guest to say a few remarks. I know that he has asked us if he can be allowed to leave immediately after, because he does have another important engagement after this. But over to you, Your Excellency, for the official keynote address and also the launch.
Thank you very much, our very engaging moderator, Dr. Eve Gazikwa. And I'm advised that you're also the chairperson of the Executive Committee of the African 4th Industrial Revolution Standardization Strategy, and as you call it, A4IRSS. Dr. Homogene Sangimana, the Secretary General of the African Organization for Standardization. Mr. Vincent Kawunga, the chairperson of the African Council of the IEEE. I'm beginning to learn your acronyms. And Dr. Nsibane Nhlahlapa, the center head for the Center for the 4th Industrial Revolution of South Africa. And Mr. Didier Nkuri Mfura, the vice chairperson of the African 4th Industrial Revolution Standardization Strategy, and also a member of the Executive Committee and Chief Technology of Innovation, Chief in Technology and Innovation Officer at Smart Africa, and representatives of standards organizations, standards development contributors, research organizations, regulated agencies, technology producers, and software institutions across Africa and other parts of the world, our distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen. I greet each and every one of you in this meeting, wherever you may be in our global village. And I'm very happy to be with you as you deliberate on the role of standardization in the 4th Industrial Revolution. And the panel discussion that was held before I came to make this statement was very, very insightful. And certainly you are doing a very good job. My starting point is to emphasize that Africa as a whole has to harness this new technological revolution, whose anchor is digitization, as already elaborated in the panel discussion. And if we do that, this is going to enable us leapfrog our sustainable development process. And consequently, we're going to improve the living standards of our people. And that issue was also highlighted in the panel discussion. Effectively harnessing the 4th Industrial Revolution will also equip us with the capacities to achieve the African Union vision of an integrated, prosperous, and peaceful Africa, driven by its own citizens and representing a dynamic force in the global arena. And this is the Africa we want to create. The immense opportunities provided by the 4th Industrial Revolution, and exploiting them is a key priority of the African continent. And standardization is a very strategic and central aspect of this. Standardization will enhance the capacities and the capabilities of African countries and organizations to scale up collaborative efforts across the continent, and in the process, create multi-sector consensus among all the relevant stakeholders towards the goal of leveraging the 4th Industrial Revolution. With the foregoing, I reaffirm my pleasure to be with you this afternoon as we launch the African Standardization Strategy for the 4th Industrial Revolution. And I'm very sure the strategy will support all the institutions that need to coordinate efforts to make Industry 4.0 a reality across each and every corner of Africa. I'm advised that the strategy being launched today was developed under the auspices of the Institute for Electrical and Electronics Engineers, or IEEE. Using its global expertise, it was also possible to bring on board some of our leading institutions in Africa, including the African Organization for Standardization, ASO, Smart Africa, and the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, among others. These represent standards organization, standards development contributors, research organizations, regulatory agencies, technology producers, and software developers committed to empowering African societies with new innovations and assured quality of the services and products. I congratulate all these institutions for the collaborative efforts that have facilitated the launch of the strategy. Working together, you are producing an evolving masterpiece, and I urge you to move ahead. I look forward to seeing the results of the forthcoming pilot stage, which will make the findings more concrete. And I'm sure this will help in the alignment of national and regional efforts. With the development of new standards and frameworks, and with the alignment of efforts, Africa can reap the benefits of the fourth industrial revolution, and in the process, position our societies to enjoy the fruits of the fourth industrial revolutions and escape from the path of marginalization, as already indicated in the earlier stages of the industrial revolutions. As I come to the end of my statement, I would like to reaffirm that the African Union Commission will continue working closely with the continental institutions which took part in the development of this strategy. The next steps are its implementation and delivery, and we expect you to deliver concrete results that are going to benefit each and every African. And rest assured of our full support as you execute these tasks. At this stage, it is my honor and privilege to declare the African Fourth Industrial Revolution Standardization Strategy, A4IRSS, officially and duly launched. I look forward to its effective implementation, and I thank you for your kind attention. And like I indicated, let me now move to the next virtual meeting with EcoBank Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Ambassador Muchanga. We really do appreciate your being with us today. We know that you are very busy, but you made it a point to join us today, and we really do appreciate. And we've also taken to heart what you have said about your expectations of ASO. And thank you for giving us assurances that you will continue to work with us as we go to the next stage, that is the implementation of this strategy. So once more, thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so with that having been said, I feel so encouraged. I'm sure all of us are feeling very encouraged that the African Union is squarely behind us as we move to launch and implement our strategy, our Africa Fourth Industrial Revolution Standardization Strategy. As we are coming almost to the end of this official launch, I will now invite the Vice Chairperson of the Executive Committee of the Africa Fourth Industrial Revolution Standardization Strategy, Mr. Didier. Allow me to invite you once more to close and also to propose a vote of thanks. I think you're muted. You're muted.
Thank you very, very much.
Okay. I think you're muted. I think you're muted.
Someone is muting and unmuting, muting and unmuting. I think it's the host trying to help. I wasn't able to unmute. Thank you very much. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Gatsikwa. Distinguished participant, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the A4IR Executive Committee, Standardization Executive Committee, it's my great pleasure to to close this meeting, and which marked the end of the first part of this work, the development of the fourth industrial revolution standardization strategy under the African Organization for Standardization. I'd like to acknowledge the African Organization for Standardization, also the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineer, IEEE, and the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, and the partners, African institution working around this topic, the Standardization Organization, and also our chair for embarking in this ambitious project, aiming at developing a document meant to strengthen and increase African position and contribute to have an increased contribution to the economy, African economy, by means of advancing innovation and future technologies. Though we could not, though we are congratulating ourselves for this important milestone, let's all keep in mind that this is merely the beginning. Indeed, Africa was not able to take advantage, as I mentioned earlier, take full advantage of the previous industrial revolution. There were several reasons: lack of technical know-how, lack of context, skills, and we have an opportunity with the fourth industrial revolution to leapfrog. There is a need to concrete solutions made by African for Africans to contribute safely to the continent economy, while harnessing the potential of the fourth industrial revolution, innovation, and future technologies. I'd like to, with these few words, to thank everyone for the great collaboration and invite everyone to make use of this important framework document that has been produced. So thank you again to all the participants today for being here from the beginning up to the end. It's only through partnership from cross-section of stakeholders such as this that we'll be able to achieve great strides into making sure that Africa is not left behind. And I wish you the best, and I wish us many instances of great collaboration. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Didier, and also thank you everyone for attending this very exciting launch. We are all excited. Please do take time to visit that. I hope you've copied the link. There was a link that was posted on the chat platform where you can access the document. The document is available for you. So please do take note of the link that has been posted on the chat platform for you to access the document. But once more, thank you everyone for being part of this event, and we look forward to future collaborations as we implement the rollout of the Africa Fourth Industrial Revolution Standardization Strategy. Thank you everyone, and have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Are we going to have a group picture before we all log off?
Yes.